So South Africa's political soap opera has entered a new chapter, and this time it's the DA investigating the DA. Today we're unpacking how the party's internal showdown is spilling into public view, how DSTV's new owner is overhauling the entire platform, and how Sandton City quietly pulled off one of the sharpest turnarounds ever. And in the Wildcard, the fascinating story of why South African clocks actually run an hour ahead of where they should. My friends, if you are enjoying the show, please be sure to like and subscribe. And now, with all that out the way, let's get into it. The DA is heading into an election year with something that no party wants: an internal war spilling into full public view. You see, after weeks of leaking allegations, personal jabs, and contradictory explanations, the party's federal executive has now taken this unusual step of launching a formal investigation into itself. You see, its disciplinary body called the Federal Legal Commission will probe this escalating feud between party leader John Steenhuisen and senior MP Dion George, while a gag order has been issued to stop both camps from arguing through the media. So this fallout began when George was removed as Environment Minister, a reshuffle formally requested by Steenhuisen. Now, George fired back with claims that Steenhuisen had misused his official DA credit card, pointing to takeaways and household expenses. Steenhuisen had dismissed the claims as revenge and countered with his own set of allegations, including concerns about George's conduct in office and his controversial international trips. Now, those accusations were followed by even more leaks. George facing sexual misconduct claims, Steenhuisen facing questions over a personal credit card default judgments, and both men just accusing each other of bad faith. And so look, it's a mess. And a risky one. With municipal elections less than a year away, parties normally tighten ranks. Instead, the DA finds itself conducting an internal cleanup in full public view, with two senior leaders trading blows while the rest of the party tries to hold the center. Canal Plus hasn't wasted a single day since officially taking control of MultiChoice 2 months ago. Now, for years, DSTV has been losing subscribers at a worrying pace, more than 3 million in just 24 months. And now the new owners are moving fast to try and turn that ship around. Now, the biggest changes are the ones that subscribers can feel immediately. Many households have been bumped up to higher packages at no extra cost. Premium users now get more simultaneous streams, and families can now temporarily share one subscription across multiple homes. Decoder prices have been cut by up to 40%, making it cheaper to join or upgrade, and DSTV has started adding new content and sports rights, including League One and the upcoming AFCON broadcasts, secured through Canal's existing deals. But the deeper play here is strategic. Canal Plus brings a European and American content library of thousands of titles, which will eventually merge with MultiChoice's massive African catalog. Now, executives are already talking about this future super app that combines DSTV Stream, Showmax, and Canal Plus into a single platform. So whether this is enough to win back the millions who left is still an open question. But for now, we're watching a full-scale overhaul of DSTV happen in real time, and the subscribers are seeing the first wave of benefits. Sandton City has quietly pulled off one of the sharpest retail turnarounds in the country. You see, a few years ago, even the top malls were dealing with empty shop fronts and changing shopping habits. Today, though, Sandton is sitting at a 99.9% occupancy, essentially full, after a deliberate overhaul of how the space is used. So for a while, the narrative was that malls were finished, squeezed by e-commerce, higher rentals, and a post-COVID shift in how people shop. But Sandton proved the opposite by doing something surprisingly simple: adapting, not with one giant renovation, but through a stream of small continuous improvements, trimming oversized stores, refreshing aging sections, and bringing in brands that people are actually excited about in 2025. And so it chips away at that whole malls are dead story by steadily making itself feel newer, sharper, and more relevant every few months. It's a reminder that South Africans haven't stopped going to malls. They've just become more selective about where they spend their time and their money. And so in a market where many centers are still battling empty storefronts, Sandton's rebound shows what happens when you evolve with your consumers instead of waiting for them to return. And before we cruise on to our Bagel Bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, South Africa will vaccinate all 7.2 million cattle against foot and mouth disease from next year Feb, after 931,000 vaccinations failed to contain the outbreak. Now, KZN remains the epicenter, with officials admitting that they are not winning this battle. A Gauteng High Court judge has been arrested for allegedly taking over 2 million rand in bribes linked to the International Pentecost Holiness Church succession battle. She, her son, and the 2 accused payers now face corruption charges in the Pretoria Commercial Crimes Court. And the US administration says that South Africa won't be invited to the 2026 G20 in Miami, accusing the country of not being worthy of membership. Now, South Africa called the move regrettable and stressed that the G20 seat comes from other member states, not Washington. And on to our Bagel Bite of the day. This one's for the birders. Let's see what you got. The question is, what is the largest species of penguin? Now, I'm talking about physical size, not population. Is it A, the emperor penguin, B, the king penguin, or C, the African penguin? We'll give you the answer at the end of the show. And on to our wildcard section. If you look at a world map, the western side of South Africa sits directly in line with Spain, France, and Algeria, countries that actually start their day an hour earlier than we do. And so, by geography alone, that half of the country should actually share the same time zone as Western Europe. But we don't. South Africa runs on one national clock, the same time zone from Cape Town to Limpopo, even though our geography spans across 2 natural time zones. Now, the reason for this goes back more than a century. You see, when the world began standardizing time for railways and telegraph lines, government chose zones that suited their political and trade alignments rather than just pure longitude. And so South Africa opted to use a single time block, what's known as UTC+2, because it made national scheduling simpler. Once a country locks in on a time zone, it almost never changes. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Shifting just 1 hour off of your natural solar time affects more than just the sunrise. Studies show that it can influence sleep patterns, morning energy demand, productivity, even traffic peaks. Some South African researchers have argued that splitting the country into 2 time zones, with the Western and Northern Cape on UTC+1, could lower winter electricity usage and give those regions longer, brighter afternoons. Now, would you be up for that kind of change, or do you think that a 2 time zone South Africa just complicates things? And as for that Bagel Bite, the answer is the emperor penguin, the heavyweight of the penguin world at 1.2 meters tall. Now, interestingly enough, their entire life happens on the Antarctic ice, from courtships to raising chicks in temperatures that plunge below minus 80 degrees. And my friends, that's it for today's show, and that is it for the work week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed watching that one as much as we enjoyed putting it together. Wishing you all a fantastic Friday, a cracker weekend. We'll catch you all same time on Sunday evening. God bless.